In this video, we're going to be exploring what angles of reflection make for a good kaleidoscope, and in order to do that, we're going to construct a simple kaleidoscope using the geometer's sketch pad. So let's get started. For the first step in creating our kaleidoscope, we're going to start by constructing a circle, and then constructing a triangle with one point on the center, one point on the circumference, and one point outside the circle. Next, we need to construct the line segment that controls our angles. In order to do that, we're going to go up to Graph, New Parameter. We're going to call this new parameter Angle. I'm going to give it an initial value of 90 degrees. We need to create an action button to animate this angle, so we're going up to Edit, Action Buttons, Animation, and we're going to set this button so that it is bidirectional by 10 units a second from 0 to 90 degrees. Now that we have that parameter set up, we're going to use it to place the line segment that will act as our mirror. So I'm going to double click on the center of the circle to mark it as the center of rotation. Then I'm going to select this line segment and go up to Transform, Rotate, and instead of fixed angle we want a marked angle of our parameter angle, then hit Rotate. And as you can see, when we animate this parameter, our line segment is going to move. At this point I'm going to hide the circle because we really don't need it anymore. Now I'm going to draw two line segments to create this lower triangle here, and this lower triangle is going to be the part that gets reflected around our kaleidoscope. I'm selecting these two line segments and going up to Display to change their width to dashed to make it obvious that they're not part of the completed kaleidoscope. In order to make our kaleidoscope a little more interesting, I'm going to create a random shape inside this triangle which is going to be reflected around our kaleidoscope. In order to complete the kaleidoscope, I'm going to double-click this line segment to mark it as the mirror, and then I'm going to go around and select all the things that I want reflected over it. Go up to Transform, Reflect, and then I'm going to repeat those steps as many times as I need to bring the kaleidoscope around full circle. As you can see, there are 4 copies of our original triangle. What if we want our kaleidoscope to make 6 copies of the original triangle? What angle of reflection do we need to use? To find out, I'm going to start by making 2 more copies of the original triangle. And then changing the angle that we rotate around until the kaleidoscope matches up again. Now that looks like it's not too far off from 60 degrees, so I'm going to change it to 60 degrees exactly. And as you can see, when we have a 60-degree angle of rotation, we have 6 copies of our original triangle. You probably have a pretty good idea of how this works by now, so I'm going to skip ahead a little bit to see what angle of rotation we need to see 8 copies of the triangle. It turns out that we get 8 copies when we have a reflection angle of 45 degrees. By now, we can see a pattern beginning to emerge. We need to divide the total number of degrees in a circle, 360, by the number of triangle copies that we want in order to get the angle that we need to reflect over. 360 divided by 4 equals 90, 360 divided by 6 equals 60, 360 divided by 8 equals 45, and so on. Note that we need an even number of triangle copies in order for the kaleidoscope to match up properly. Now that we know the formula for finding the angle of reflection, we can apply it to quickly find the angle needed for any number of triangles that we want. First, we need to go up to Graph and select New Parameter. We're going to call this parameter Triangles and give it an initial value of 4. Next, we need to right-click on Angle and select Edit Parameter. Instead of a simple degree measurement, we're going to change it to the formula 360 divided by the number of triangles. Now we're going to get rid of this old action button and create a new one. First we select triangles, then we go up to Edit, Action Buttons, Animation. In order to make this run smoothly, we're going to change the value discretely by 2 units at a time. This is so that we never have an odd number of triangles. Then we're going to change the domain from 4 to 50. Now that our kaleidoscope is finished, I'm going to hide the extra parts left over from our construction. I've made our parameters a little bit bigger so that they'll be easier to read. Now, when we click the Animate button, we can watch as our completed kaleidoscope increases 2 triangles at a time, displaying the angle of reflection at each step. And there you have it! How to find the angle of reflection you need to make any size kaleidoscope that you want.